Chapter 228, Zhu Tui is ready to cause trouble. Zhu Tui gradually calmed down as he walked out of Wen Xiao's office. He had a preliminary plan. In reality, Zhu Tui's first thought after leaving Wen Xiao's office was to call his teacher and Zhao Xoxui. He thought about it for a moment and decided against it. There was no need to call and ask Zhao Xoxui for help. There was no point in asking Zhao Xoxui for help, much less changing anything. There was a fact that Wen Xiao's procedures were just and there was nothing that violated the rules. This matter could not be overturned. The only flaw was that he had been too gentle with Zhu Tui's to messages, but it was also a reminder. He would settle it himself. However, Wen Xiao's method made Zhu Tui realize another problem. The extraterrestrial spot for the first place in the freshman comprehensive assessment should be really important. Of course, the research funds allocated by the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College to the various departments of the mystery branch were also another important factor. Since it was teaching, even the top Wuxia Genetic Evolution College would not be able to escape the strange circle of assessment. How should he quantify the teacher's teaching results? The method of only talking about scientific research results 100 years ago had long been eliminated. However, there had never been a completely reasonable assessment method. However, there was still an assessment. The Wuxia Genetic Evolution College had a closer understanding of the teacher's teaching results. What was the root of a school? Teaching. Then, the quality of the teacher's teaching results would be reflected by the students' results. It was just like the college entrance examination in high school. If a student's results were impressive, their form teacher and teacher in charge would be impressive. Under such circumstances, the comprehensive assessment of the freshmen after the 3-month protection period was actually a big test for the students and the teachers. The research funds that the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College allocated to the mystery branch in a year amounted to 2 billion. There were currently 4 faculties in the mystery branch, the supernatural branch, the radiation influence branch, the School of General Senses, and the School of Enlightened Mind. The largest among them was the supernatural branch. Among the 2 billion research funds, the supernatural branch directly took 1 billion. The radiation influence branch, the School of General Senses, and the School of Enlightened Mind each took 100 million. That was a quota of 1.3 billion. As for the other 700 million yuans, it was a flexible sum. It could be considered an incentive. Whichever faculty had good teaching results would receive the majority of the 700 million yuans. The department that ranked first in terms of teaching results could monopolize another 500 million flexible reward quota. The question came full circle. Currently, the quality of the teaching results was determined by the students' assessment results. The results of the freshmen were divided into 2 parts. Firstly, there were the rankings of the Year 1 students on the Longhu list. As long as there were students from the various faculties who entered the rankings, the teachers of the faculties would be able to obtain points. Year 1 Dragon and Tiger occupied a large portion of the points. Next was the comprehensive assessment of the new students. Similarly, the person who ranked first in the individual comprehensive assessment for the extraterrestrial spot had a lot of points. Over the years, whether it was the research funding or the comprehensive evaluation of the new students, if it landed in the mystery branch, it would definitely belong to the supernatural branch. However, Zhu Tui was a major variable this year. In that case, Wen Xiao's actions made sense. An ordinary warning could accomplish many things. For example, the extraterrestrial spot that was related to the first place in the comprehensive assessment of the first years, as well as the 200 million research funds allocated to the mystery branch this year. He could basically make the final decision. He was even a superb individual. It had to be said that Wen Xiao had a sharp eye. The reason why Wen Xiao did not handle the battle with Deng Wei in time after the battle 2 months ago was clear. The cultivation projection card that Wen Xiao had given Zhu Tui, which was a superb type cultivation card, contained even more malicious intent. Wen Xiao had been planning this for more than a month. If that's the case, is this a collective action? The entire supernatural branch should be behind Wen Xiao's warning. Zhu Tui suddenly sneered when he thought of this. The entire supernatural branch? In fact, in the mystery branch, most people would think of superb individuals first. Most of the people in charge of the mystery branch were professors from the supernatural branch. This is an internal competition between the supernatural branch and the School of Enlightened Mind. However, they used an unorthodox method. At this point, Zhu Tui had a clear understanding of the entire situation. He also began to reconsider his plan. He would have agreed if Zhao Saxui had told him to try his best to get first place in the individual assessment yesterday. However, he was only trying his best. He just had to work hard. It was a good thing that he got it. If he could not get it, then there was nothing he could do about it, because he had tried his best. However, Zhu Tui's attitude had changed. He will go all out. He had to go all out to get first place in the comprehensive assessment, even if the individual's rating was directly reduced by 1 grade because of this warning. Zhu Tui did not mention this when he went to deliver food to Zhao Saxui in the afternoon. There was no need. Zhu Tui returned to his dorm at night and continued cultivating. He swallowed a bottle of level D energy restoration elixir that was worth $50,000. As usual, he first activated his 9th reaction speed genetic base point. It only lasted for about 5 minutes. Zhu Tui stopped when the 9th reaction speed genetic base point began to expand rhythmically. After 10 days of continuous development, the 9th reaction type genetic base point was only a step away from success. However, Zhu Tui decisively stopped activating it. Instead, he carefully sensed the changes in his body under his introspective state. He focused slightly and sensed the process of his body's reaction. He did not notice any unexpected and dangerous physical reactions or signs. When Luo Shifeng listed out the various developments that Zhu Tui could encounter, he'll confirm if there are any mid to long-term physical reactions and characteristics tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Then, I can activate the 9th reaction type genetic base point. Recently, Luo Shifeng had taught Zhu Tui a lot. He had also been taught a lot and was following this rule to cultivate. For example, the development of genetic base points without prior research experience had to be done slowly. Zhu Tui shifted his attention to another genetic base point under his illusory introspection. This was the 17th genetic base point of the 2nd level of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique. Originally, after Zhu Tui spent 40% of his time every day cultivating the ancient genetic martial arts, the efficiency of cultivating the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique would inevitably decrease. However, after using the Level D Energy Restoration Elixir, the overall efficiency of his cultivation had increased. This did not significantly reduce the speed of his cultivation of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique. On the contrary, Zhu Tui had activated 6 genetic base points in the 2nd level in the past 10 days. His total mind power had increased by more than 30%. The total efficiency of his cultivation had increased again. The most direct reaction was that 2 weeks ago, when Zhu Tui had just changed to a Level D Energy Restoration Elixir. He had not even used up a bottle of Level D Energy Restoration Elixir in 1 cultivation cycle. He had almost wasted a bottle of Level E Energy Restoration Elixir. However, 2 weeks later, as Zhu Tui continued to activate the 2nd level of genetic base points, the total amount of his mind power continued to increase. The efficiency of his cultivation also increased. Currently, he could not only use up a bottle of Level D Energy Restoration Elixir in a single cultivation cycle, but he also had to use up another bottle of Level E Energy Restoration Elixir. Only then would he be able to use his mind power until the end of the cultivation cycle. However, the consumption of genetic base points for the 2nd level of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique was increasing. After half a cultivation cycle, the 17th genetic base point of the 2nd level was still not activated. Zhu Tui's attention shifted again when he used his illusory introspection. This time, he switched his attention to the 4th genetic base point of the Vira Tide Force Field. The distribution of the genetic base points of the Vira Tide Force Field was very interesting. The 4th genetic base point was below Zhu Tui's lower jaw. To be honest, he would not have been able to remember this position if his teacher, Shen Jushuang, had not personally used his energy field power to guide the location 3 times. He might not be able to locate this genetic base point based on the cultivation method of the 1st level of the Vira Tide Force Field without 3 to 5 days of effort. This was also one of the reasons why genetic ancient martial arts could not be widely promoted. There were too many restrictions on cultivation. 40 minutes later, the fourth genetic base point of the first level of the Vira Tide Force field was activated. With a thought, the energy field power in Zhu Tui's Danshin instantly appeared in his lower jaw. It instantly formed a three-dimensional energy domain with the other three genetic base points on his forehead, chest, and shoulders. Zhu Tui had an extremely accurate grasp of the changes in the circulation of the energy field power in his body when he was using his introspection. Was the Vira Tide Force field the three-dimensional defense of the energy field? Zhu Tui had his own understanding as he observed. The energy field dissipated and he ended his focused cultivation for the day. However, he did not fall asleep immediately. Instead, he sat cross-legged and began to follow the lesser heavenly cycle technique that Shen Jushuang had taught him. He guided the energy field power in his Danshin with his mind, and scanned the 18 genetic base points that had been activated in the lesser heavenly cycle genetic chain. After he finished his rounds, the energy field power returned to his Danshin. Under his realistic introspection, Zhu Tui could clearly feel that the energy field power had become slightly stronger. It seemed to be constantly absorbing the energy field power drifting around the various genetic base points. On the other hand, the genetic base points that had been activated could spontaneously produce energy field power. It was a magical thing. This made Zhu Tui's cultivation very interesting. After 5 consecutive rounds, the effects of his cultivation became very weak. Zhu Tui, who had been cultivating for nearly 3 hours, also felt a strong sense of fatigue. He washed up, he went to bed and entered a meditative state. He relaxed his mind and soon fell into a deep sleep. However, Zhu Tui still had an obsession even when he was in a deep sleep. He was going to cause trouble tomorrow.